So the top Lulu EU, what does he bring for runes and keystones? The most common Lulu page, as you can see here, is going to be bringing Summon Airy, bringing Mana Flow Ban, bringing Transcendence, bringing Scorch, and then bringing Biscuits, and bringing Ability Haste. Pretty common for most Enchanter supports to bring these runes. You can see on average people are bringing double AP and then armor as well for their adaptive or their final extra runes. The reason for that being is because Lulu scales very well off AP. She can be a lane bully in lane, and typically more than anything in the bot lane you're going to be taking auto attack damage, you're going to be taking minion damage from harass, so that armor is going to assist you as well. This is typically what I'll run against most bot lanes as well on Lulu, but we can see that DOCDA, or DOCDA, whatever you want to call him, DOCDA, is bringing all the typical for his at least main page here. He has Summon Airy, brings Mana Flow Ban, he brings Transcendence, he brings Scorch. Very common if you want to harass, do some damage, and also get some more power on your shields. But he changes it up a little bit, at least in the game that we're analyzing today, and brings Eyeball Collection and Relentless Hunter. Eyeball Collection is an interesting choice because it's going to trigger off of any takedowns. You'll get additional AP or AD adaptive, and for Lulu, obviously AP. The reason why this is an interesting choice is because it's going to make his sustain in lane a little bit less. He's not going to have those biscuits, but what benefit it has is that it's very easy to get a takedown on Lulu. Anytime you see one of your teammates engaging, if you just pop a shield on them, you're going to go ahead and participate in that kill, and that's going to trigger you getting an additional stack of Eyeball Collection. So an interesting take there. Will more than likely assist him in the long run of the game, but early game it's going to basically attribute nothing unless we get some pretty quick early kills. Relentless Hunter is also an interesting rune. Relentless Hunter is the rune that will give you additional movement speed out of combat, depending on how many takedowns again you have. So it synergizes a bit with Eyeball Collection. Just like we mentioned previously, it's really easy to net a takedown on Lulu if your team is converting kills, because all you need to do is pop a shield on whatever participating teammate is involved within the kill, and you'll automatically get that stack of Relentless Hunter. So with Lulu, and with so many people building Lucidity boots now, which DOCDA is also going to do, we don't have the quick movement speed out of combat like we used to if we were building mobility boots. So having Relentless Hunter activated and having that available is going to allow you to hopefully get to team fights a little bit quicker. If you're warding a jungle and you see something happening mid, then that's going to again allow you to move a little bit quicker between objective A to objective B, right? His adaptive runes on the bottom. He has 1 point in adaptive force, so that's going to give him 9 ability power early game. Again, fantastic, just like we talked about with the most common Lulu runes. He's going to help on shielding, going to help on harass, etc. He's also bringing 1 armor, which is typical, and then also 1 magic resist. I believe specifically for this matchup that he has against the enemy support, which is Brand, that's why he chose to bring the magic resist this game. Brand's going to be really heavy on magic damage early. If he gets a full combo off on you as Lulu, you're more than likely going to end up going down, thanks to the follow-up from the enemy AD carrier bot lane also. So having that magic resist against any matchup that is going to be really really ability focused is going to be important when you're down here. So that's more than likely why he's spec'd into the magic resist this game instead of bringing something like attack speed, which you'll see a lot of Lulus do if they're against a melee lane where they can really harass a lot with their auto attack, or just bringing that extra adaptive force and getting that additional AP like we see on the most common Lulu runes page. The final option you could do on Lulu as well in a really defensive lane, and really depending on your play style, potentially against like an engaged support, is bringing a defensive rune page, right? And you can see that here for our last Lulu most common build. This is the second most common Lulu build brought into ranked matches. So the second most common Lulu page is going to be focused on, again, defensive runes. So Guardian is going to give you an additional proc of shield If you get into a lot of scuffles, that will help your AD carry and overall make you more survivable in the bottom lane. The second one here, Font of Life, which again is the rune that's going to let you, if you impair an enemy's movement speed, that your ally can heal off of them. Really good with Lulu Q. Again, is going to be helpful in a defensive lane because you're more than likely going to be engaged on a lot. Bone Plating, as we've talked about previously, is just one of the best runes that you can bring, and when you're comparing it to the other two on that page, Second Wind and Conditioning, they really don't hold a candle to Bone Plating, so it's going to up your survivability much more than those two. And then finally, like you see on any support that has a shield available to them, Revitalize, because that's going to help their shielding power overall. A 5% increase, up to 10% stronger on people who are below 40% health. Really strong, again, if you're trying to survive a lane. And then we see the common second page runes here, Biscuit Delivery and Cosmic Insight. Same Adaptive Force and extra runes at the bottom there. So we don't see him running it this time. He potentially could run this against a brand, but it's not really DOCDA's play style. Again, you'll more than likely see runes like this if you're against a really heavy engaged comp, like if you have the EUNE in the bot lane, if you have a Rel in the bot lane, things like that, right? People who want to jump on you to basically finish the job. So today we'll be seeing him go, obviously, his preferred page on this matchup, and we'll see how it plays out. And finally, last thing to mention is that his skill order, EWQ, on Lulu is going to be completely average. This is what you see most high elo Lulus doing. I hear a lot of argument for lower level Lulus thinking, hey, I want to max my Q because I like harassing. But the beautiful thing about your E is that it gives you the ability to either harass or support either with that shield or just raw instant damage that you can pop on someone. So maxing E is just the proper and correct thing to do on Lulu. You can argue it all you want, but I don't believe there is a better thing to max first than E. W typically comes second. Again, you can speed up your allies and increase attack speed with W, but it's not going to be typically as valuable as turning someone into a squirrel or a muffin or whatever your skin is. That goes all the way up at max level to 3 seconds of CC and your enemy doing nothing. Basically, it's a huge silence. So against champions that, again, want to go in, let's say Echo, let's say EUNE in this current meta, right? W is super important to max second after you initially max that shield. And then finally, of course, is going to become your Q maxing. Again, your main goal here isn't to be burst, especially on support. If you were maybe playing a top lane or mid lane, you could potentially max Q second, right? But even then, we see a lot of individuals who play Lulu in these solo lanes maxing W second, maxing E first, playing more of a support role, even if they are kind of getting more EXP in those solo lanes. So let's hop into the game and analyze how DOCDA plays Lulu at top tier. So moving into the game, we have DOCDA playing bot lane with a Jhin against a Tristana and a Brand. Make sure they're matched up properly down there. He does end up going for the Spell Thief's Edge. Again, as we talked about in his runes, he does have some pretty harass-focused runes. So he's going to go ahead and get the Spell Thief's Edge, more than likely going to try to get some auto attacks here early game. And we see potentially an invade coming out from red team, but nothing more going to happen from that. It's interesting to see that he picked Lulu with the Jhin. It might have been the case that the Lulu was picked first and Jhin was picked afterwards. You normally don't think Lulu is going to be a great pick with Jhin just because her E and how it functions, right? Health picks, her shield is going to come out and typically be most valuable on an auto-attacking champion that can just pump out auto attacks with really high attack speed. Jhin having his passive available where he has 4 shots, they're all at a predetermined interval. It's not going to be the most effective, but as we're going to see through this game, it can clearly still work, right? Normally, if you see a Jhin pick, most people wouldn't pick Lulu with it. So I'm interested to see if they're able to win this bot lane. Against a Tristana and Brand as well. Super aggressive bot lane, but really high damage bot lane. You don't see many Brands in higher elo or really at all in the bot lane. So interested to see how they're going to end up performing down here. In early game, we're more than likely going to hopefully see DOCDA doing some decent harass. What a lot of people underestimate is how good of a bully Lulu can be. He's going to try to... Here it is. There's an E, an auto attack. Gets him down to about half health, even less. With the Jhin W coming out and snaring Brand there as well. And at the tail end of that harass, we also saw that DOCDA, with health picks on Brand, was able to land that second portion of his Q to do even more damage. So you can see right there how potent early game Lulu can be. You want to be careful overextending though, because that can eventually play really bad for you, especially into something like Brand. You don't... If DOCDA ever gets stunned by a Brand Q coming up here, it's going to basically be the end for him. You're still really squishy, and you got to know your enemy's ranges to be sure that you're playing properly. So good auto attacks coming out, but as you can see there, 2 auto attacks from Tristana and a W from Brand bring DOCDA to about 250 health. So he's got to be careful. It's difficult. You can bring a Relic Shield on Lulu, which used to be a lot more common, especially if you assume you're going to take a lot of damage in a lane. But DOCDA being confident enough and not having biscuits more than likely is going to want to bring Spell Thieves. We see Jhin getting a nice combo down from Brand, and they end up losing that trade actually. And so many other lanes, so much chaos happening in top lane that they're going to just play slow down here. Not as much harass as I'd like to see coming out from DOCDA, for sure, but again, he has to be careful of this Brand. He's trying to land Q whenever he can, really wants to make sure he's getting his money. Here's a full combo coming out from Brand. DOCDA probably will go down here. A nice heal comes out from his Jhin, and he eventually does go down, unfortunately. Jhin, misses an auto attack there, eventually takes down the Tristana, and has a minion wave helping him. So a 1-for-1 trade down there in the bot lane. DOCDA did do a good job of staying alive as long as possible, even after eating that full Brand combo. And now he's going to scuttle his way down to the bot lane. He does buy boots first, and that's very common. We talked about this when we were analyzing Core JJ on Rel, on how building boots first is typically going to be one of the best things you can do, especially at higher levels of play, where you're moving around so much or where you need to move around so much. That's going to be the game decider, is if you can get somewhere faster than your opponent. Let's say bot lane moves to help. Then you want to be there, hopefully sooner than they are. He's doing a good job warding. Pops a pink down pretty deep here. Looks like he's going to get a deep ward down. Nice. On the red side also. And again, with his lane pushing in down there, this is the best he can do. He could go back and hopefully recure some levels when he's going to try to get off a gank on this Zac. You don't see Lulu ganks very often, but again, that can make the difference, right? Is if you have your support move up. His lane is being pushed in, and he's even going to come back for another gank here. He knows that he has vision in his favor throughout the map, so he's going to move to mid lane, get an E off, yes, and then also a Q, but we see that Rek'Sai is here, so he's going to try to kite away if he can. Oh, slowly, he does eventually get knocked up, and then Tristana comes, he gets a really hard flash over the wall to get out of there. Does get an auto attack off on the Tristana, he's going to go try to help his Elise, but needs to be so careful here. Elise goes down to almost no health. And it looks like potentially nothing more will happen. He's still sticking around though. He has enough mana for maybe one more E and Q. He pops the E on the Elise, and then the Pic's final additional little auto attack boost that the Elise there was able to net that Q. Followed up by a great move by the Jhin to take that off, and that is how many assists? 3 assists for the Lulu now. So that's going to be 2 stacks of her Relentless Hunter. That's going to be 2 stacks of Eyeball Collector. And she wants even more, moving again to the mid lane. If any of those CC abilities hit, we probably... Oh, never mind. We probably would see him go down. He still ends up going down to Elise pushing. And some great team play. That's what I'm talking about, right? Now he hasn't been to the bot side of the map since that first back that he had. So really good play by them. He already has 3 stacks on his Relentless Hunter and his Eyeball Collector right now. And that's the power. We can see that he has 25 AP. And only 1 AP-ish item. How much does Spell Thieves give you? Spell Thieves gives you 8. His Runes and Mastery gives him 9, so he has 10 additional AP thanks to that Eyeball Collector. And he also has some additional movement speed thanks to Relentless Hunter right now also. Again, he built into Lucidity boots first. That's pretty typical on Lulu. Gonna try to make a move here around Vision as well. Dodges the brand Q. He really needed to do that or he's dead. He's probably gonna have to back out here because it looks like Numbers is on the blue team. And yes, they will. Again, getting Lucidity boots, level 2 before anything else is going to help with movement speed. He's going to be so fast around this map right now with already 3 stacks on Relentless Hunter that hopefully he'll be able to move anywhere he needs to. Shielding brand damage. You don't always have to save your shield for your AD carry. It's, again, who's more than likely taking the most damage, and he does save himself there, basically negating everything that Brand just did with that W. And is playing smart. Isn't moving too far, even though he sees Elise is potentially here for a gank. Is moving a little bit further up now. And she's gone. There was a ward. They clearly knew that she was there. We saw a lot of pings come out. And he's going to walk back and just wait for this lane to push back to him. Dodges the brand Q again. Does shield himself. And they both need to back out now that they see Nocturne Ultimate is happening somewhere. Really having no sight on the map. He is 1 level behind the brand right now. That is and not anymore, but that is kind of some of the detriment that happens when you do roam so much and helping the rest of your team. So he's going to have to hope that those roams pay off with his Elise and Lux being pretty far ahead of their respective enemy jungler and enemy mid lane. But overall, again, playing passive here, he needs to play so passive. If Tristana jumps on him, or again, if Brand really lands any stun, it's basically over for DOCDA, especially pre-6 when he doesn't have his ultimate. So they're playing safe. They want to push out this lane so they don't waste the Jhin traps that are on the floor there. We see the enemy team moving in on the dragon. And red team's unfortunately not able to shift over fast enough. Pops his E a little early there. Considering that he probably wanted to save that 4 once the Tristana bomb blew up on him. And yeah, I was going to say, I'd be surprised if he backs here. They don't see Brand. He might overstep a little bit, but we know Brand's in that bottom bush, and now they're going to reset. How much money are they working with right now? Only got 600, so she'll probably end up getting like an amplifying tome, or there we go, a ruby crystal, to be a little bit more survivable against this really engage-heavy lane. And instead of going bot, let's see where she ends up going this time. We know bot lane's pushing in, so I'm surprised to see that DOCDA's going down mid. He might end up trying to get some ward coverage here. He does buy 2 what are these called? 2 control wards, thank you. 2 control wards. Oops, I don't want my cursor on the screen. Does buy 2 control wards. And ends up not placing any wards anywhere, so just, I guess, looking to see if he had an opportunity to help out Lux again, but with Zac not being in the lane, he's going to head back bottom. Jhin trying to push it out before his lane gets down here, and yes, good idea to ward the tri-bush here. No need to pop a pink in that tri-bush because more than likely this lane's going to push back past the halfway point of the lane. So as soon as that happens, as soon as these blue minions push to about the halfway point, it's just going to be a free ward for the blue team if he was to pop a pink there. So popping just a normal ward there is fine. Also did check to make sure that so much action happening. Also made sure to check that, see if they had a pink ward there. So still a level behind the brand. Dodges the W. Some good happy feet coming out here. And so really there's going to be no ability to even fight here. Or hopefully win a trade, because again, not having that ultimate on Lulu is gonna neuter her pretty hard right now. She's safe to walk up this far though, because they know that they have ward coverage in river right now. Blue team is completely out of the loop to know if where the enemy jungler is. I mean, besides the fact that he just showed top. So DOCDA's still stepping up in lane against this brand. As long as he dodges those Qs, which he knows is down right now, he's going to be fine. Puts the transmogrification on Brand, which tells Tristana, hey, I can go in. And eventually starts taking so much damage. Dark Harvest going down, has to flash away, gets healed by the Jhin, which ends up saving him. And has to go back to base now. Well, that's happening. Let's see how this Elise gank goes. Here she comes. Brand is going to be able to get bursted down pretty easily. Oh, yeah. And eventually goes down to the Jhin, which is going to be awesome. Jhin ultimate coming out. It does get one shot off, but I doubt that this Tristana is going to go down anymore. So back to Lulu. What are we buying this time? Back in base, trying to get closer and closer to our Moonstone Renewer. So gold starved on this support. Of course, it's probably going to take at least 15 to 18 minutes to finish up that Moonstone. But I'd be surprised to see her go anything but Moonstone Renewer. Really strong on Lulu. Going to give you some ability haste. Going to give you the ability to actually heal your team as well in a team fight situation. So as she again comes back, she knows her lane's pushing, so she's going to try to get some deep vision down. Make sure that there's no vision for the enemy team here. Beautiful. Take note that, again, when there's no EXP to be had in lane, that she goes a little bit deeper, pops some wards down, gets them some good ward coverage. And this is even more important because Dragon's coming up in about 1 minute, as you can see on the top of the map here. Vision is going to help you set up for Dragon. Baits the Brand, who eventually goes down to Elise. She doesn't, unfortunately, she's not in range, unfortunately, to get any shield off on the Elise, but it doesn't matter too much for the Lulu, besides the fact that DOCDA's not going to get some additional gold because he already got his Relentless Hunter and his Eyeball collector stacks from killing Brand earlier, or assisting with the killing Brand earlier. So Jin's now powerful enough to where he can go ahead and step up. A nice Lulu shield will mitigate some of the damage here. Looks like he didn't have shield up, so he popped a W on to get Summon Airy on Cringrian to get a little bit of a shield going his way and mitigate some of the damage, which is fine. The W is only level 1, so it has about like 11-12 second cooldown. But with no additional battles more than likely happening without Brand in lane, that's fine. To go ahead and pop down a W on your support or your AD carry to get a little bit of a shield off thanks to Summon Airy. So thanks to ward coverage, thanks to ward coverage, and also just the fact that Jin's so far ahead, this is going to be an easy Dragon for his team. Clears some wards, but no following team fight going to happen. So no need to really go anywhere else besides this bot lane. He needs to make sure he doesn't fall behind in levels. Some great happy feet coming out from the bot lane. It's really just mitigated any damage this Brand can do. Preemptively shields, thinking he might take some shots there from the Brand Q. But they're so far ahead, there's really no need to force anything. See Elise waiting down here too, but this bot lane is probably way too concerned to even consider going in. Rek'Sai's coming in also, though. He's 3 levels behind the Elise. Does a good repel to get out of there. Lulu ultimates the Elise immediately because she does take most of the focus, and then transmogs the Brand to slow him down a little bit, is trying to burst him down, pops her E on him, uses the damage on the E for Brand, eventually goes down to auto attacks, and then they switch their focus to the Lulu, but now it's Lux here, and all of those cooldowns being busted on DOCDA on the Lulu, they're more than likely going to be able to convert these final kills. Nocturne joins the party, making it a 2 for 3 in the red team's favor, but still the damage has been done. Unfortunately, a shutdown goes down, but there's only so many shields you can provide your team. I think it was a really good call for DOCDA to try to pump out as much damage as they could on that Brand just to eliminate that threat in the middle of a team fight. And the reason, again, he did that was more than likely because they were then on the offensive. So when you're on the offensive, it's more value, right, for you to use your shield, your E ability, on an enemy to try to burst them down, as opposed to hoping that you popping your E on somebody else, let's say the Elise, right, is going to end up netting doing more damage. So catching mid-wave here. We know Lux is in the bot lane, so obviously we want to go ahead and cover the mid lane so none of these minions go to waste. Is moving with his AD carry, as you should be most of the time. Wants to keep him safe, especially against someone like Zac, who is pretty good at going in. I'm surprised to see him in the mid lane. We can see how effective that's been. Zac being 0-4 right now against Lux, who again isn't the most typical mid lane. Doing some damage, using his E when he can. Doesn't have it available to shield, but again being so aggressive with his E's. I love it. It's really a surprising amount of damage that you can pop out from Lulu. And he ults his Jhin Zhao not because he's in danger, but to get a little bit extra of a second of CC off on that enemy. Let's go back real quick and check that out. So Jhin Zhao goes in, and she pops him up so that way Brand's still available to auto attack for a second or two longer. She probably could have extended here and maybe tried to shield the Brand, but, or excuse me, the Jhin Zhao, but you got to realize when somebody's dead and when they can extend a kill on you after that to kill you. So she does a good job backing out. Flashes forward and gets the E off, and then 2 more auto attacks to kill the Nocturne. And I suppose if there's one thing to really take away here, it's just how often he's using his E ability, his health picks ability, to do damage as opposed to shield. Oh, nice. Good stuff. Why aren't we focusing on the Lulu anymore? Not bad. There we go. Moving back, popping down some turrets. More than likely has all of her stacks of Relentless Hunter now after so many kills have come through on this game. Overall positive KDA, good stuff. Gonna move back to the jungle. More than likely get some wards off, but she's out of charges, so just gonna go back and use our, how much gold do we have this time? 1,500, right? Yeah, 1,500. A lot of gold for Lulu. Finishes the Moonstone Renewer. I don't think she had that prior. Ends up, here we go. Nope. Ends up getting, or moving her way towards the Staff of Flowing Water, I believe, is what she's building with that additional item. And only has one, how much money did she have left? Oh yeah, she had no money left. Only has 1 control ward. If she had some additional cache on here, she more than likely would have bought 2. If you can buy 2 control wards as support, you might as well. You're probably going to need them. And if not, then it's just good to have them on hand, regardless, for objective control, for additional warding if somebody kills yours. Right, she sees her Jhin Zhao almost going down here, pops the ultimate to keep him safe. Good awareness from her to move over there. And now that's basically DOCDA's job at this point. Since they're so far ahead, she can, as we've been seeing throughout the whole game, continue to try to use her E to poke down. She actually just used her W on the Elise there while they were attacking that turret. If you have no threat, feel free to do that, because again, your W is your transmog used on an ally is going to increase auto attack speed. So that helps move the turret down even faster, and you want to probably pop that on somebody who has a lot more AP or attack damage than you do. As long as it's not Jhin, again, thanks to his passive. But they end up taking an inhibitor and moving out of there and doing a good work. Now we see dragons up, and we have already some great ward coverage happening here. This is a good little cheese bush to hop in. And so much damage is available. She's going to stick around just in case anything crazy happens. Just cheesing it up. And pops the W for fun, basically, there. The game's almost over here, but we're going to see her moving bot with her Elise. Pops a shield on her preemptively because she knows she's about to take some damage from the Brand. Is moving in last. You don't want to get focused on Lulu. Pops the ultimate early on the Elise. Maybe not super necessary, but again, will help her in getting some additional CC and hopefully netting that kill. And with your ultimate on around a minute cooldown at this point, it doesn't hurt too bad. We know that there's not much damage to back up anybody on the blue team and hopefully netting a kill. So your ultimate's not super important to hold on to it, as opposed to if there was like a Viger on the enemy team or someone who can really 100-0 somebody on your team. So using it for CC, especially when you're this far ahead, is very viable. Second inhibitor goes down. Nocturne seems to be just kind of pushing as much as he can in the top lane there. To hopefully get one objective or 2 for this team, but this will more than likely be the end of the game. Really nice little game from DOCDA here. He was in a difficult lane, pops his E to help again assist with that final kill on, it was Nocturne, I believe? No, it was actually on Tristana. And that's where the game's going to end. So, again, DOCDA plays more than anything Lulu in his ranked games. Top ranked almost throughout the world. I believe he's ranked number 2 or 3 throughout the world. But the reason I picked him as opposed to other Lulus is because he is a challenger level player kind of running this champion. So did a good job. Did the 3 things you want to do most when you're playing Lulu, which is get some good harass down early game, not die, and then finally protect your carries. Really interesting to see a top level player do it, but not that much crazier than what you could reproduce in your own game. So if you're playing Lulu a lot, hopefully this will give you a little bit more insight on how you can switch up your runes and play the champion differently. If you haven't before, I would definitely suggest picking her up. She's not the most skill intensive character to play, but with enough time on her, you can really make your team soar and protect a lot of people from death, or even surprisingly kill some people just based on her base damage. So give her a shot. Hope you all like this. Let me know below if you're watching this on YouTube who or what you'd like to see next when it comes to a game analysis. And I'll catch y'all next time. Have a great day or weekend or night or whatever it is. Peace, y'all.